Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of Your Vibes Podcast. Everybody's got a vibe and a story to tell. Here's this one. I hope you enjoy. This episode is sponsored by Dixon Dog Mom, a local in-home pet care service providing daily dog walks and overnight house sitting. You can enjoy a peace of mind knowing that your four-legged family members will receive loving care while you work or travel. See for yourself why countless animals and their humans trust Kelly and her team of pet care professionals. Schedule your meet and greet today to create a custom pet care plan and receive 20% off your first service when you mention Your Vibes Podcast. Find them on their socials at Dixon Dog Mom and online at dixondogmom.com. All right, everybody, we are back again with another episode of Your Vibes Podcast. Got another podcaster in here today, Mr. Jeff Eby. How are you, buddy?
Good. How you doing?
Good, doing. It's good to have somebody across the table who's good on a mic.
Oh.
You know, it's tough to. A lot of people, do the whole head turn or lean back, and you got to kind of give them the hand signals to. You got to stay close.
In the mic. Yeah.
Stay in the mic. Stay in the mic. Yeah, I tell people it's just like an ice cream cone. Just kind of keep it close to your face. Cool. Yeah, so I thought I'd bring him in, just kind of chat. He's really involved in Dixon, and like I said, he's got his own podcast that's quotably all about Dixon. So we should have a pretty good conversation about kind of things going on, what he's got going on, and things to come as well too. He's a county commissioner, so we can get some inside scoop as far as what they're hearing and what they're seeing, and where he thinks things are going to go. So I guess if you want to kind of in true cadence of the podcast, maybe just give a brief overview as far as who you are, kind of where you came from, and what you're involved with, and then we can kind of go from there.
Sure. Well, again, my name is Jeff Eby, and I was actually raised in Nashville, and my parents actually met in college at Trevecca Nazarene University. My dad was from Florida, my mom from Kentucky, and so we moved to Nashville, went to school, and then we were all born there in Nashville. I went to McGavick High School. So after I got married, well, let me back up. So I actually went to college at Trevecca, and that's where I met my wife. And then actually I didn't finish at Trevecca, and actually had to go to work. So I worked at UPS.
What'd you do over there?
I was unloader for a while, and then went to their hub school and became a part-time supervisor. So
cool.
I was on midnight, so I tried to go to school and work midnights, and it didn't go together very well. Yeah, kind of rough. So ended up, we got married and had our first daughter, Leah, and we decided that we just didn't want them to go to metropolitan public schools. And at the time, my dad had moved out here because he was running Camp Garner Creek, which is down there on Garner Creek. And he did that for about 25 years, actually. So we moved to Burns, bought a house in Burns, a new house there in Burns, to get our kids into the school system here in Dickson County.
Cool.
So that worked out well. In the meantime, let me back up just a little bit. When I went back to college, went through MTSU and went through the ROTC program and got commissioned in the Army, and then was in the National Guard for 30 years doing active duty, guard time, and all that, and just retired in 2016. So,
oh, wow. Thank you for your service.
Yeah. So my girls grew up in Dixon, went to all the Dixon schools, graduated from Dixon High School, and then Leah, my oldest daughter, went to Vandy, and then she went to medical school, became a doctor, and she was a doctor at the Dixon Hospital, but she's moving to the Frisk Clinic as a physician there. And her husband is actually, they met in med school, and he's in the ER here in Dixon, Dr. Kyle Moore.
Cool.
My youngest daughter, Layton, she went to Belmont. She cheered at Dixon High School, cheered at Belmont, but she went to the nursing program there. And then she met her husband there. And he is a mortgage broker. And then she went back to school and got her nurse practitioner. And she just started as a nurse practitioner at Bellmead Dermatology. Now it's called Pinnacle Dermatology, I think.
Okay.
But yeah.
So if you ever get sick, you're pretty well handled
I
on
should
that
be.
front. Yeah.
Of course, my wife's a nurse, and she was a nurse at the middle school when the girls came through there. So we were involved in the school system, and then after I got deployed in 2003 and 2004, and I was in Iraq for about 14, 15 months or so.
Wow.
And so when I got back, I back up just a little bit. My dad had an insurance agency, and he started in 1960. So after I went back to school at MTSU, I actually finished my degree in finance and with an emphasis on insurance. Now they actually can, I think you can actually get a degree in insurance there. But back then it was just an emphasis. So then I started working with my dad, and he kind of retired after he came to the camp. Kind of wanted to do that full time. I took the agency over. So when I got deployed, he had to come back in the agency and kind of run the agency, while I was deployed for that time. So when I got back, our office was in Nashville. When I got back, I just decided I just did not want to drive to Nashville anymore. So that's when I moved the agency to Dixon, and we've kind of been operating out of Dixon since then.
Cool.
So so that's kind of a in a nutshell.
Quick catch up.
Yeah.
So I'd like to kind of just touch on one thing. So when you were deployed over, was that pretty action ridden over there, or?
When we got over there and we got attached to 4th ID, and we worked with one of the brigades out of 4th ID, and we were it was all combat while you were there pretty much. Yeah. So
Well, thank you for your service. I know that wasn't an easy choice, and
I say it was really hard on my wife Sharice and the girls, because and I say this, and it's hard to believe, but like when I left, Leah, my oldest daughter, was a little girl, and when I got back, when I saw her, I was like, this cannot be her, because she had changed. She had grown up and become a woman, basically.
Yeah.
It was like, what happened? It was astonishing. Yeah, it really was. When I saw him at the airport, I was like,
oh shit, is this my family?
I know. Yeah.
Yeah, that's as a father, I've got a daughter as well too, and a son, and just looking at pictures from 6 months ago, and then looking at them today, that change is so evident. I couldn't imagine 15 months. So that's awesome. Thank you for doing that. So you came back, took over the agency, and or I guess took back over the agency, right, and were running that. And when did you start kind of, I guess, involving yourself in Dickson County, and I guess I don't know if there was anything before the county commission, or
actually when we lived in Burns, I decided to run for a constable position. So that was kind of my first entrance into politics a little bit. And the funny thing was, I missed the deadline for putting my petition in. So I missed the deadline to actually get my name on the ballot. So what I had to do when I went to the precincts, I had to ask people to write my name in.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I had this little card and had exactly what they needed to write. And believe it or not, I won.
No way.
Yes.
On a write-in. I bet that's a record.
I know. People came out and said, it's a good thing your name wasn't any longer than this. Sure. Or I wouldn't have written it in. Because you have to turn that dial, and put all the letters in and everything, So I guess Jeff Eby, that was short enough that they were able to do that.
Short and sweet.
Yeah. So
maybe explain to me a little bit, and the listeners who may not know, what does a constable do?
A constable is before they had sheriffs, they had constables. So the constable, what's the word? The constables, it's a long tradition. Now, a lot of the counties, if the counties are over 100,000, they can get rid of those positions. They're elected positions. So most of them, like Nashville, all those big cities have gotten rid of them. So, but all the rural kind of counties have kept them. And basically, the constables support the sheriff's department, or in the city police. We have as much authority as the sheriff's department or the police department in the cities.
Okay.
We're elected by the people, and we're only accountable to the people who elect us, pretty much. So, But most of the constables, I will say most of them do work with, the sheriff's department. They can train with the sheriff's department. I actually train with the Dixon Police Department, go through their 40 hours. You have to maintain your 40 hours of in-service every year to be qualified to be a constable. And, I've done like concerts when Craig Morgan, I'd help them out the concerts or the fair, or, some of them do school,
SRO stuff?
Well, not SRO,
okay.
but like at the traffic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
And different things like that, and just do supporting roles for the county.
So it's just like, okay, so it's more or less just an extension of the police department.
Yes.
So now somebody told me this: is the constable the only person that can arrest the sheriff? Is that how that goes?
Actually, I found this out. It's the constable or the coroner.
The coroner.
Yes.
How about that?
And by TCA code, yeah, that's the only two that can do that.
Wow, that's quite a load of responsibility for a coroner there.
Yeah, and actually, that's my son-in-law, by the way.
So you got it well rounded up. There you go. So are you still a constable?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we when I moved to over off South 48 near the campground there, we bought some land that was near where my dad was and everything. And so when he retired, we went ahead and bought some land up there, and then he put a place up there, and then we built our house there too. So when I moved, I had to give up because you have to live in the zone that you're in. So when I moved, I had to give that up, and then I decided at that point, well, why don't I just go ahead and run for county commissioner? So I ran against a guy who had been it for I think 8 years, maybe a little longer than that though. But I really got out and met people. I spent months going around meeting people, and I think I really surprised everybody by winning that race. So
well, it takes a lot of work, and we've got, I guess, some city council elections coming up here in the next couple of months as well. So maybe, I guess, if you want to just get into a little bit around your campaign style, I'd love to know kind of how you beat the doors or how you went about that.
Well, my district is basically west of 48 and south of 70. So I've kind of got that quarter now. It overlaps a little bit. And now I understand it may change a little bit because with the census that has just taken place, the districts may be redrawn a little bit coming up here in January. So in fact, our state districts and our federal districts may be redrawn. We don't really know yet because I think all the numbers are still coming in. But I talked to the mayor about that the other day, and he said it looks like that maybe even some of the districts here in the county are going to be redrawn because of, like a growth area like in Burns and some of these places that's going to cause some lines to be redrawn. So we'll just see how that goes. But my campaign style is I just get out and go knock on doors.
Just door knocking.
And, I sent out flyers, put signs up, put some bigger signs up in some places I thought were kind of strategic or whatever, and just get out and talk to people and kind of tell them what I'm trying to do. Now, you're campaigning the whole time when you're even in office, So people call me about, different concerns they have in their neighborhood, like roads or, water issues or whatever. I go out and meet with those people. I try to, get problems solved as quickly as I can. But, you cannot solve problems like immediately. Sometimes it takes a little time to get some of these things done. But as far as the roads concerned, we've gotten a lot of money federally in the county to upgrade some roads, and there have been a lot of paving projects going on, and we've got another round coming up too. So
it was a big mission for the mayor to really redo a lot of the roads here in the county.
Right, and they're doing a good job, and we've got another round coming up. In fact, we've got to submit some roads in our districts that we think need to have some attention done. So we're in the process of doing that right now.
So when you first started, so what year was that when you first started campaigning? Would you say it was?
I'm trying to think back now. What was it? 2012, I guess.
Okay.
Like yeah.
Okay. So I guess what was kind of on your agenda, when you were campaigning, what was it back in 2012 that you kind of saw enough to really take the effort and, out of the graciousness of your heart, want to be a public servant? What was it?
Well, one of the things, and I'll have to admit, I haven't been successful, and there's various reasons why that I can explain. But the $10 charge for the landfill, everybody that I saw, that's the one thing that they said something about, and I had said that I'm going to try to go in there and see what I can do about that, But once you get in and you understand what that $10 is for, people think it's for the payoff of the lawsuit that happened with the landfill, but that's not the case. That $10 is the actual budget for the landfill. Mm-hmm. So when you pay that $10, that's paying all the landfill, their whole budget for the year. Now of course they get money in for when these other companies bring in trash or whatever to the landfill, they get money for that. But their whole budget is that $10.
Sure.
So. And the other thing was, because of the lawsuit, the federal government implemented a penalty to the county. And we paid that off in, I think, don't quote me on this, but it was like 8 years, maybe 8 or 10 years. And we had to pay like $400,000 a year for that amount of time to pay on the penalties because of the landfill problem that we had. Well, and this year is our last payment. So I had talked to Bob and about and he, of course, he said it's up to the commission. We can actually put the landfill budget back into the budget, but that would mean that there would have to be a property tax increase to be able to do that, because once a budget is allocated from a certain income, it's hard to take all that way and then put it back into a different budget line item, and then not. You've got to get the income from somewhere.
It's got to come from somewhere.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, I was hoping that, this being our last year, the $400,000 payment, that we would be able to do something. And I think maybe next year we can look at that. I mean, it's up to the commission. We can decide to pull that out and put that back in the budget. We just have to look at what it's going to do to the property tax rate.
Let's say it's almost 6 on one side, half a dozen on the other.
It is.
You know what I mean? And paying $10 a month, $20 a year,
right,
to be able to go dump all my crap.
Right.
I'll definitely take that. Just take a dump trailer full of just junk, and back up and dump it. But
and the thing is, if we put it back into the budget as a property tax, that would mean that only property owners would be paying it, not everybody else that are apartment owners or whatever. They end up not paying anything for that. So
everybody's got to pay their part,
right, for
a public service, and that doesn't sound like too tough of some issues if you're just dealing with a $10 fee, and I'm sure that roads and everything were else kind of on your mind as well too. And
right.
One thing I've noticed and kind of just the going ons and intentionally being involved is there's not too terribly many people that are willing to step up, and make a difference. A lot of people kind of just sit on the sidelines and either complain or do nothing.
Right.
And kudos to you, because I know that running a campaign is not easy, and
it's not cheap either.
And then whether it's a curse or a blessing, actually getting elected and having to be a part of those changes and really making those tough decisions too, because it's not. So many people just look at singular issues and singular results.
Right.
They think it's just black and white, and that they don't want this because of this. Well, they don't think of this, and this, and this, or if you do this one thing for this one person, it's in the minutes, and you're pretty much probably going to have to do it for anybody else that wants any sort of variance or anything like that.
Right.
I've been on the county BZA board, I think for probably 6 months now, and we've only had one meeting, and it was a variance on some land out somewhere in Dixon, and that was the conversation, and I'd read a lot of the regs and kind of just dealt with it according to whatever was on the agenda. And
so you weren't on there during the
no, I came on after. Yeah. Bob had sent me a letter in the mail and asked, and I said yes, I don't even know whose spot I took, but or replaced. I didn't take anybody's spot. I think they backed out. So,
that planning and zoning committee, that they don't hardly make anything to do that, but they can get a lot of grief from everybody. I mean, it's a tough position to have.
You end up in a pinch, because when it filters down to us, it's like, we're the ones that have kind of, the last stride there before, something either goes back to y'all or, gets completely written out. So, I'm excited to do it. I want to meet, and it's not bad that there's a lack of business. I don't mind that. You guys are doing great, but it's an important role, and I'm excited to see kind of those people that are in those positions, in the less liberal sense of the word, being progressive about things as far as where this county needs to go.
Right.
And I think that, kind of just fade right into it is from talking to you previously, and Matt, your podcast producer as well too, is that's kind of, I guess, why you started the podcast as well, as far as just maybe providing some clarity about some things going on in town.
Yeah. During the fuel depot things last year before last, there was a lot of disinformation that was put out there, through some of these sites, Hip Dixon, Hip Burns, and some of those sites. And, I got to thinking there has to be some kind of something that allows people to get it from the horse's mouth, so to say, what's really going on, so we can dispel some of these rumors that are going around, and at that time there was really nothing, there was nothing available to anybody. So I decided, let's try this. Let's try this. Do a podcast, a video live podcast, and allow people to call in to ask some of these people some questions about, what's going on. I've had the sheriff on. I've had director of schools on, Danny Weeks. I've had Michael Curcio on, our state representative, and Kerry Roberts, our state senator. And I've had some other guests on, I just think that we need a place where people can come and tell you exactly kind of what's going on in their area of expertise. So I think it's a good thing. I think some people are watching and seeing kind of what's going on. I've got Bob Ryle actually coming up on August the 6th.
Cool.
So
that'll be a good one. He's such a funny dude.
I know he is.
He's a goof. He's good on the mic, and he's very attuned to playful banter as well too. So I think that should be a good episode.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to that.
So what were your thoughts around just kind of podcast to podcast? I guess in your mind's eye, the whole vision of why you wanted to do it, it was a necessity to include the video and the call-in option, because it wasn't just you asking a guest questions. It was you wanted the entire community's input. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. And, we're only, 7 shows in or whatever, and it takes a while for people to get used to, okay, this is going to be on at this time. I can call in and ask questions. We knew that was going to take some time. So we're just going to, navigate that and see how that goes moving forward or whatever. But
are y'all getting some participation in the call-ins or
some? It seems like that most of the views are after the fact, and it's just, I guess it's just difficult to get people, used to at a certain time listening to a podcast or whatever. So we're hoping to get to that point. Maybe in 6 months or so.
Sure.
We'll see how that goes. And then, we'll, once we get through about 6 months, we'll have some repeat guests just to see what's going on, like the sheriff. He wants to come back.
Cool.
Of course, it's a little easier right now because everybody's up for re-election, so everybody kind of wants to come on.
Everybody needs that FaceTime.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What were your, this is just me thinking off the top of my head, as far as the time slot, the 11:30 to 12:30 slot, I know that's kind of a lunch hour for people. So do you think that may be, I don't know, any kind of hindrance? Like maybe if you did it at like a 10 o'clock where people are at their, in their office or something?
Yeah, we're going to try, actually in August, we're going to move to Friday at 12 to 1.
Okay.
And try to bill it as, spend your lunchtime with us on Friday. Cool. And, we'll see how that goes. We're experimenting and just see what will work best for this community.
That's what you got to do.
Yeah.
I mean, God, the amount of experimenting that, I've done just with this, and, and what people don't realize is it's more than just buy a microphone and plug it up. Besides having the capability to talk to somebody for an extended period of time, it's quality of mic, it's editing,
no
it's
doubt.
software, it's promo. I spend a lot of time on marketing designs, for covers and advertising and stuff like that as well through Canva and several other things. And it's keeping up, and analyzing your analytics and what worked and why did it work. So it's not as plug and play as a lot of people think it is.
And you go video live, it just doubles everything. It triples
I can't imagine.
everything.
It's just that's knocking at my door, and I can't really put a finger on as to why I would really need to do that quite yet, because I'm not to the point, and I haven't. It's not really in the business plan to have people call in just quite yet. It's a different format, but I have, and the reason I bought the equipment that has the capability for it is because I have been contacted by a couple people, some publishers, some newspaper people, just some kind of people who, I guess, some bloggers who want to add a spin into their written format and have me go out and interview who they're blogging about or whatever it may be, and have an audio portion to it as well. So I don't know where it's going to go, where it's going to expand, but it's a creative outlet that was a necessity, and I think you kind of felt that as well too.
Yeah, and I've talked to you this a little bit before, but we've started a YouTube channel called the Dixon News Network. Here's my goal. Now, whether we can do it or not, you have to everybody cooperate. But I would like a place where everybody could put all of their stuff into one place, so people just have to go to one place to view my podcast, view your podcast, view the county's podcast or whatever you call it for the commission meetings, the city, and different things like that. So that's something I'm kind of working towards, and we'll see how that kind of develops. But everybody would still maintain their own, but this would just be one place everybody could click and find everything going on in Dickson County about, all the podcasts, all the meetings, everything, so they're not searching around everywhere. So
like an aggregate platform of sorts. Yeah. Yes. That everybody kind of, with some sort of podcast or, show or whatever it may be, that you can consolidate all that. Correct. I think it's a lovely idea because it helps everybody.
Yes.
It helps everybody. You're not trying to push or pull people in any sort of direction. Right. You just send them there. And then if they want to branch out, and get into a specific one or two or however many podcasts, if they resonate with somebody and, want to jump in and buy their merch or, read their news article or whatever it may be, they can kind of go from there. I mean, it's kind of like, what you're seeing around, Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts, except it's more just county based, in there. So do you know, how many podcasters there are in Dixon right now?
Well, it seems like there's somebody else that's doing one. I know it's you and I and
Richard.
And I think there may be one or two others.
Okay.
That's doing it right now. But, I'd really want like the county's meetings to be on there, the city's meetings to be on there, the planning commission meetings to be on there, So everybody's got one place they can go. And they can look at everything
you need to know about Dickson County.
That's it.
Right here.
That's it.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, and I've had some, people send me messages. Thank you for, we're new, and there's a lot of new people in Dickson County. Thank you because we're just trying to figure out Dickson County and what's out there and who runs it, blah blah blah, and so and that's what it's for, to give people information about what's going on in Dickson County.
Absolutely. And you hit the nail on the head when you said we get people coming from out of town. We interrupt this episode with a message from our sponsor. This episode is sponsored by Dixon Dog Mom, a local in-home pet care service providing daily dog walks and overnight house sitting. You can enjoy a peace of mind knowing that your four-legged family members will receive loving care while you work or travel. See for yourself why countless animals and their humans trust Kelly and her team of pet care professionals. Schedule your meet and greet today to create a custom pet care plan and receive 20% off your first service when you mention Your Vibes podcast. Find them on their socials at Dixon Dog Mom and online at dixondogmom.com. Now let's get back to it and enjoy the rest of this episode. I mean, the amount of, and yours as well, what surprised me the most and what I didn't even think about was realtors using it as marketing, sending out to their clients, like, here's a podcast that tells all about the county. They've got elected officials on there, they've got contractors or, whatever else, business owners. And if you want to know what's really going on in the county, here's, a long form conversation with somebody that you're going to probably be dealing with when you move here. Is that something you want to do? And, I've got a couple emails from some realtors saying that, that people are moving from Florida because of the podcast, or got a call from a contractor the other day, actually, that said he closed on a huge piece of property. No, they didn't know who the contractor was. They didn't know who I was, and they somehow stumbled on the on the podcast and heard the contractor.
You never know who's going to.
You never know. And it makes a huge difference in the community, and more people need to do it. I think that adding a perspective, everybody's own individual creative outlet. You just never know. Especially in this kind of small town, there's with especially the people who are generational here have kind of found their cliques a little bit,
right?
And they kind of grow, but there's those people, that just kind of float around. I don't really have a clique. I just float around like an amoeba, and but having people with those creative outlets, you kind of find these different avenues through Dixon of just some really creative people that need more light shined on them. I've got a girl that's making soaps and shampoos coming on in a couple weeks. She just reached out to me and asked if she could have a little bit of time. I said, absolutely.
Sure.
We'll see how it goes. We'll see how many people love soaps and shampoos. I don't know, but it's necessary. We've had the radio station in town for a while, but I think most people are turning away, as you well know. Most people are turning away from mainstream type stuff, and nothing against the radio station whatsoever. They do a fantastic job, but I think competition, it breeds excellence, and having just all sorts of platforms and people in town talking about different niche things, or talking to different people, it really just. Hopefully in the most positive manner possible,
Right.
Really
most people listen to most of their stuff on their phone.
100%.
I do. Mm-hmm. Even in the car, I'm listening.
Hook
to my
that
phone
Bluetooth
music.
up and throw something on. I can't remember the last time I listened to a radio.
I know, me either.
I mean, I can't. My wife listens to the Bobby Bones show every morning, but that's her, and I used to, but I just hook up to Bluetooth, and it's either a podcast or some sort of music or something like that. So cool. So, I want to dive into, we'll just kind of have all this merged. So both of us obviously are well attuned, in Dickson County and connected, and, kind of see this beast rumbling, and it has been for a little bit. I think one of the major things, kind of a turning point, was, I guess it was like 6 or so years ago when Thornton Drive came in, that just changed the face of 46 immediately. And, a couple of the developers involved in that, did a great job in bringing in businesses and developing that in a beautiful manner. So, then it kind of stone stepped from there with some additions to things, and then finally the stability. It wasn't but 3 or so years ago when downtown businesses were just rotating in and out.
Right,
the turnover was miserable, and it was just,
and nobody was downtown.
Nobody. The lights would shut down, at 5:30 or 6 or so, and you'd have some restaurants open till 8 or 8:30, and people moseyed around out there. But you had House of Brews and things like that, but there was just really not too terribly many options. But now, man, I mean, look at what we've got now.
I know, it's incredible.
Look at what we've got now, and it's super special. And the leadership with the business owners downtown as well too. They're all, what I really enjoy seeing is how they all work with each other for the most part. Obviously, there's some drama that goes on, but like Chris Gadd or Justin Reynolds smokes. Sometimes when Chris wants to brew an amber beer, he'll smoke the grains for it. I think he's going to start doing some stuff for maybe Elizabeth at Boardables, and I think Pumphrey's is now going to try to carry some of Chris's beer.
Cool.
And it's just this collaboration of people that want to see Main Street work.
Right.
So I guess in your time here, what are some, I guess, significant changes that you've seen, and maybe where do you think you're going? What does the county need? What needs to be added? Maybe something a little more, a little less, just to kind of mold this, Putty the way it's going.
Well, we talked about this a little bit. We need some kind of venue that we can advertise to people, come to Dixon, to have your convention or, your small convention or whatever. I think we have enough hotel space. We've got all those out there at the interstate and everything.
Nice hotels too.
Yes, very nice. But we don't have any place where everybody can gather in one place and hold a meeting or a convention or whatever. So one of the things that, we've been discussing is trying to do an ag center. And I'm real a proponent of that, trying to get, like we talked about, like the one in Franklin is really, really nice, the way they did theirs out there.
Yeah.
I would like to see something like that here in Dixon, where we could have different, events come in, from rodeos or, companies having events or whatever.
Major conferences.
Yes. But we have nothing like that right now. So, that's kind of something that I'm really putting on the front burner to see if we can't get done.
That would change the face of things completely.
No doubt.
Completely. I mean, we talk about, what's that thing that Dixon needs? And I've heard people say a private school. The median income's not there yet. Right. We're going to have to wait. And that's not really going to drive people out here. It's kind of limited. Which I agree with it. It needs to happen at some point, but it's not going to be anytime soon. Or another major industry. We've got a lot of those, and they're good paying jobs. And it would be great to have an addition, but you're not really changing the face of tourism at that point.
Right.
But having, like you said, a conference center, a convention type center, with the flexibility to do anything, like you said, you could do a rodeo. Could have a space for, if Apple wanted to come in and bring a bunch of their bigwigs in, and they didn't want to, pay all, which they could afford it. It was a bad example, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
I know.
A company that may not want to pay a whole bunch of money national, or it's booked, or,
right.
They want to do it somewhere different, I mean, it just, that would provide an extremely flexible and viable option to suck out major
Yes.
companies to come out here and just look at Dixon.
Right.
And eventually, and you let me know what you think about this. And I know there's some infrastructure problems in place as far as specifically internet, but, from a development standpoint, the water and sewer, things like that. But specifically internet, that these major industries, every company nowadays is a tech company. Every company. I mean, that's how you keep ahead of the game, is your technology and your systems and your software is more efficient, and your marketing strategies are more efficient or more wide range, or whatever it may be. But to have a tech company come out here, no matter how big or small, I've always thought it would be really, really neat to have, to describe Dixon as somewhat of a small business incubator, to where these companies can come in an extremely entrepreneurial friendly environment, with the amenities that they need, as well as, really, really good internet in wherever they may live, because most of them would work from their home. But even then, if you had a conference come out here and there was just a contractor for a major company that was some sort of tech company that were like, hey, we're in California, we're looking to get the hell out. Dixon seems like a pretty cool spot. The first thing they would do is, what's the internet look like? Shit. Well, they're out of here. Yeah. So, anyway, I mean, do you think that would be viable, something to work on there?
Yeah, absolutely. And and you know as well as I that the electric company is in the process of trying to run all these lines to basically everybody that has electric and make the internet available to them. And I think I think that's a 2 to 3 year project. I think it was something like that. So that's of course now downtown here in Dixon, we've got pretty good internet service. You've got Comcast, you've got AT&T, you've got other options, for the internet. So I think downtown is pretty good. It's just the fact that rurally we're really not there yet. So I think that's kind of been a priority for the county and working with the electric company to try to get that done. And I think that's going to happen. And it came to a head kind of when we went through the lockdown and everything, and all these kids were at home and they had no internet service. So it was a real deterrent for the school system to try to continue to keep these kids in school and continue to do their work. So I think it was a real problem, and I think we kind of realized, okay, we've got a big problem here. We need to try to fix it. So I think that working with the Dixon Electric and some of these others, I think it's in the process of being fixed. Now it may take a year or two before we have it completely fixed, but it's coming. So yeah, that's a big thing that we have to tackle.
Hopefully it's not out of necessity again. So whatever happened in 2020, I'd hate to see that happen again. And because internet or not, you've got some of these. We're in a rural county, and there's some kids that have some real home issues, and to just not allow them, even from a food standpoint, a lot of times they rely on their meals at school.
Right.
And it's just a sad thing to see that. So, and even beyond the schooling system, as far as just remote learning, you saw a lot of major industries as well, too, have everybody work from home. So, and I reading, just kind of keeping up with how that's going, like, are people coming back in the office? And it's kind of wishy-washy.
Yeah, I know. They don't want to come back. Now, some of these companies are, I think, going to make them come back simply because they think they have to have their eyes on them or whatever, which I don't think is necessary. But people are realizing, you don't have to live in a big city now to have that job, because you can be rural now as long as you've got a good internet connection, and you can do the same job you could by driving to Nashville.
Absolutely.
So again, internet's important to.
And there's more ways to make money online. I'm not one of them, but people do it, man. I mean, you get these ClickFunnels type things, and whatever kind of product they're pushing. I mean, this 4-hour, Tim Ferriss 4-hour work week type thing is a real deal if you really dedicate yourself to it. And,
right.
There's more and more people I know. I'm like, well, how do you make your money? Well, I sell stuff on Instagram, or I drop ship from Amazon, and make $200,000 a year. I'm just like, golly, but that's a whole different kind of breed of people. But to the point is, there is a massive amount of money to be made just via the internet, remotely, online, and a lot of even the jobs, even if it's not something, an entrepreneurial type thing, all their stuff's done on a computer, whether they're in a brick and mortar, office building or not. Right. So, and I had Todd Murphy on here a couple months ago. He's obviously a huge proponent of the internet, the electric department doing the internet. He said something around, the $50 price range for really good high-speed internet, and cable as well, too. And he said it would just become another bill, and you wouldn't have to call, and, dealing with Comcast is the worst.
Lord.
I canceled all my Comcast. All I've got is internet and Netflix and Amazon Prime. We don't have TV at all anymore. It was just useless to watch it. And they told me it was $99. Okay, great. First 3 months, $99. After that, it's been $120.
I know.
I'm not gonna wait, and I'm like, fine, screw it. Just take the $20. I'm not gonna sit on the phone for 2 hours every single month trying to get somebody to come, to do something about it. And
the thing is, they were given a federal grant for these rural areas, and they got a lot for Dickson County. I'm not sure exactly how much it was, but I'm thinking, okay, what have they done? Mm-hmm. And I don't know if they've done anything. Maybe they have. I don't know.
Well, they're owned by Viacom, so who knows what the hell they're doing with it. I was at a wedding venue DJing a couple weeks ago, too, in Charlotte, just right off of 47. And I think the owner of the venue said that the Comcast line was like 500 feet from where it needed to be, and it was going to cost him like 30 grand to run it.
I know. I know. I've got a guy who lives in my district, and they called me. They're over there on 47 South. Yeah, 47 or 48 South, and like about 100 yards to their right, Comcast stops. About 100 yards to their left, Comcast stops, and they can't get them to bring it there so they can get it. I'm thinking that don't even make sense to me.
Sure.
But
and some people are posting on Facebook, how much does it cost? I'll just pay whatever. Yeah. And sometimes they won't even do it. Yeah, they won't even bring the men out there to do it. So huge need in Dixon. I think it's coming. I mean, there's people that are getting in decision-making positions, and I think we all see this kind of wave of development, specifically in the downtown area from a commercial standpoint.
Right.
I would like to know, I mean, are you seeing anything, and I've always tried to put a picture in my mind as far as, outside the downtown area, and not really going all the way into Charlotte, just kind of mainly in the city limits of Dixon. Are you seeing any kind of other areas that are potential to pop for, another strip center, or not necessarily an office complex, but some sort of other type of commercial development?
Well, I've been reading a little bit about West Dixon. Down 70, they're building. There's a whole development going in there.
Okay.
I haven't actually been down there myself to look at it, but I just saw it online where somebody was talking about it. About
Cool.
It's the new area in Dixon or whatever. So it seems like they're putting quite a few homes down in that in that area. So that looks like that's an area that could really
Well, you're tying yourself into McEwen and Tennessee City at that point, and
right.
You're going to bring a lot of traffic from those areas because it's a void out there.
Right.
I mean, I've always said about Dixon's geographical location, 45 minutes west of Nashville, hour south of Clarksville, hour north of Columbia, and last set of lights before Jackson.
Right.
Everything else is just wide open spaces because you're not going to see, a lot of Hickman County do some major things, or Humphreys counties do some major things. Dixon is it. And I think people are planning and hoping that, it grows from the nucleus of Dixon and kind of grows out that way. So, West Dixon would obviously, be an obvious choice for expansion over there. Cause
land is still relatively cheap here compared to other counties around Nashville, so people can still, get a pretty good bang for their buck here, coming out here and buying land, building a house or whatever. So,
and they're doing it.
Yeah.
Paying cash, selling out in California,
yeah,
and just buying a whole bunch of stuff. Whether it's sight unseen or seen, they're finding it online somewhere and scooping it up, and sometimes getting slapped in the face with some zoning things when they come out here and try to do some things. But which I think is good. Dixon's got a backbone about them, and I think that slow growth is okay. Controlled growth is definitely
if you let it get out of hand, you can always have problems.
You're going to end up like Clarksville or something, or Murfreesboro, like just gets so out of hand sometimes, and the zoning gets all squirrely, and you've got commercial and residential mixes that don't really flow very well, and I think Dixon has done a fine job. There was a development, and people are like, well, this whole NIBI thing. There was a development that was going to go into my neighborhood that was 167 unit condos. I'm not against development at all. But if that was in Druid Hills, if that was in McCrary Heights, if that was anywhere in a low density neighborhood, I would have been against it. So the push was one temporarily, but I think they're going to come back and do a redesign of it, which I'm all for.
Right.
You've got 14 acres right there, and you want to throw some nice houses up there. You might, as a big ass developer, I'm sorry, you're not going to make as much money, but you're also doing the right thing for the community, which is what you want to do. I mean, you had T.W. Frierson come in and build the Justice Center, and they Ben Eberly he's kind of their business development guy. I've known him for a long time. He was at a lot of the chamber stuff. He was a lot of networking things, and wanted to do good for the community. You don't see that with a lot of developers that come into town.
And that turned out, I memean, if you haven't been there, it's really nice.
I haven't taken a tour of it yet. Yeah. I'm hoping to. It looks beautiful from the outside. So
it is. I mean, it's high tech.
Yep.
It's designed for the future, and it's going to be a really good building for the county for many years to come. So we're really proud of that.
And Charlotte's doing some good things too.
Yes.
They got some good controlled growth, and Sweet Charlotte out there is just awesome. Jeff, the owner, is a great dude and a good asset to the community, and the leadership out there is good. Willie Spade out there is top notch. So I think all these little subsets of Dickson are slowly doing their thing, doing their own thing, which is really neat.
Right.
You've got these just different districts that you can have a different experience in, wherever you go. So, and obviously people are kind of back out and about wanting to get social, just given, the turnout for the Dixon Street Festival, and then it's just past weekend at the Burns Barbecue Festival as well too.
Right.
So, a lot of support, a lot of people that want to come into Dixon and hang out and live here and shop here, and, just joined the DDA several months ago as well too, and they've got some big plans for Halloween and some really big plans for Christmas as well too. So
cool.
I think that gravy train's just going to keep on rolling and just keep people active.
The festival was awesome there, downtown Dixon. It really
turned
was.
out just
it was
better
amazing.
than I could have ever expected it was going to.
Right.
I mean, it was well done. I think they estimated like 7,000 people in and out all day, which is
awesome.
huge.
Yeah.
I really wish one thing I wish I had done better was find out where some of the people were coming from. I got a lot of locals and a lot of locals that brought family.
Right.
That was kind of as far as I got, and I didn't really have time to question too other many people, but I would have loved to have known how many people came from out of the county, because that's that's where the tourism dollars come from, and
Sure.
A major asset to the county. If you've got a good tourism department, then you're sucking in a lot of money. So,
and believe it or not, we get some tourism dollars from all the hotels we got out on the interstate, and you'd be surprised, how much we get from that.
Oh, it's quite a bit.
Yes.
It's definitely quite a bit. Tourism isn't just a subset of anything. It's its own living, breathing industry with its own infrastructure and everything within the county, and some really good people on that board, and good people at the chamber as well too are kind of in charge of that, and just overall good leadership. I keep banging the drum on that, is that this county's got good leadership through and through, elected, non-elected, board members, committees, associations. There's just, I think I counted the other day, I'm on 5 boards right now, and none of them are weak. I'll say that they're all important in their own way, and
Sure.
they have their own agenda and goals, and they're executing them phenomenally. So just really excited to kind of see where this goes. So
the other part of this growth that we're expecting and hoping to bring in, with some type of convention center, whatever, is the airport. Because we'd be surprised how many. Because I've talked to Craig Fuson a little bit about this. How many people actually come in through the airport, and I've talked to him about they're looking at expanding the runway and allowing some, maybe even some small passenger flights to come in there, whatever. So, I mean, it's all, it has to be all encompassing. You have to take care of all these things to be able to really get the kind of growth you want to, get into the.
You can't really have one without the other.
No, you can't.
And that's something I never would have thought of. You've got major companies, and a lot of them aren't going to want to drive.
They're all going to fly in.
They want to fly in on their private jets.
Exactly.
And hang out. So is there enough room to expand, for more commercial traffic out there?
Yes. Yeah. They've got enough land to extend the runway to allow for larger planes to come in.
Do you have
there.
your pilot's license?
No, I don't. I've got like 20 hours or something like that.
So you're going through it, or?
Well, I haven't been in such a long time.
Okay.
I probably have to redo those 20 hours. But anyway.
Well, it's definitely an asset to have the option to be able to do that.
No doubt.
As well too, and it's not too far out of town.
No,
so
not at all.
combo.
The other thing is, we're working on the commission is with a master plan, and I know the city is actually, because I talked to Stacy Levine was on my podcast here last week, and she talked about that a little bit about the city having a master plan and going through that, and that's something that's really important. That you have to be able to get growth that you want, not just growth for growth's sake, but to get the correct growth in. So we're actually on the commission working on a countywide growth plan right now. So Bob's been working on that, and we've been discussing some things that we want to do. So I think, and he's actually, I think there's some company that's actually working with us on that for the growth plan or whatever.
Cool.
Yeah.
So how far do you plan out? What does that look like?
I think it's like 20 years.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, that's just something that, of course it's not going to, obviously it's not going to work out exactly like you planned, but at least it gives you some kind of blueprint to where you want to go and how you want to do it, so.
So is that just in planning for that is obviously there's budget stuff in play, but is that potential rezoning of property or acquiring property and stuff like that as well?
Correct.
Too? Okay.
Correct.
So you just plan way out and you're like, hey, I think the way things are looking, this piece of property may be good as an M1 or a R3 or whatever it may be, and just slowly tap away at seeing how we can kind of get that done.
Right.
And of course, everything is this is what gets me the most is that people like to get up in arms well after the horse is pooped.
Yep.
It's like they put signs out there. They put a date when the rezoning hearing is. It's on the agenda. You can call City Hall. You can do whatever, wherever there's so much. If you want to keep up what's going on, then keep up what's going on. But don't play catch up.
I know.
Because once you play catch up, all you're doing is being a boat anchor.
Yep, no doubt.
These conversations have already been had. These things have already been ruled. They've been appealed and, recent back up. Like it's just it's a lot of process.
Yeah, and the other reason, or one of the other reasons why I wanted to start this podcast that I do is try to get people involved in that process.
Yep.
So I bring in the representatives in the county or the state or whatever, so people know. Number one, they know who they are, because you'd be surprised at the amount of people who don't even know who their representatives are. And that's sad to But I realize there's a lot of new people moving in, so. Yep. I'm hoping that, people are going to get involved in that process more, not only by voting, which is a big part of it, but know what's going on. If you have a question, to contact your representatives or listen to the, what's going on in the meetings or whatever. I think it's important. But yeah, you're right. It usually happens after the fact. People get upset, but they didn't get involved in the front end to find out what's going on and have an input about what's going on. So. We encourage people to do that, to get involved.
That's your right. As a citizen of the county. Like you've got an option. It's like getting either you want a small or you want a big size drink. Either way, it's $1, but you can get a big size drink if you participate. And you go to the meetings. They may seem boring, but at least you know how things work. Like
right.
That's a requirement for leadership Dixon
Exactly.
County. Like you have to go to a planning and zoning meeting or a county commission meeting or some sort of public meeting
right.
with elected officials at least once, just to know, where it's at. Really, a lot of people don't even know where it's at.
Right.
And then who's involved and what ward they're involved with. And it's just, there's so much that goes on in this county that's public knowledge that people don't realize. And even when they do realize it, not enough of them get committed enough
right.
to do anything about it,
right,
and that's what I want. I love resistance a lot of times. I'm like, because so many people sit on these boards, myself included, for such a long time, just because we want to. Not that we're bad people, but we don't have anybody that really wants to fill the shoes. There's nobody that I see banging down the door to sit on the board of whatever. I don't want to do this. It's people like us that care, and not that they don't, but it's having diversity within the situation shakes things up, and it puts
right.
a different perspective on things, and I encourage that. I encourage right. people to stand up and say something.
And I understand, families with kids, and they've got a lot going on with playing ball or school events or church and all kinds of activities going on. I can understand how it's difficult for people to get involved, but you can slice out that little part maybe to look and see what's going on in the county, what affects you, and where you can have an input into helping shape, the county to way that you want to have, the way you want to have some input towards. So I encourage people to do that. And again, just to make a little plug, but that's the one reason, I want to try to get this platform going where people can go to one place. They can click on their phone, one place. Okay, well, here's the county commission meeting. Let's look a little bit of that, see what's going on. Or here's the planning commission meeting or whatever, that they can just go to in one place. So,
did we chat about, are you going to, I guess it would be a pretty decent idea to convert that off of YouTube maybe into its own platform at some point, its own living entity.
Yeah, probably, but that can get expensive. But
Real expensive,
if you do it through YouTube right now, eventually then you can migrate that off into whatever platform you want to. But YouTube is already built, obviously, and you can use that platform to collate all those and archive all those into one place where people can actually go and watch or whatever.
And I guess you could just, when you upload your video, I guess you could just add it to a playlist or something. Is that how that would work?
Yep.
So if you did one, I did one, and I just added it to whatever. What did you call it? What was it? What was the name of it?
Dixon News Network, DNN.
Dixon News Network. All right. Yeah, let's definitely look at that. Let's definitely look at that. And I'm in. I'll upload whatever. Okay. Yeah. Well, at least get 2 people doing it.
Right. Well, you have to get. I didn't realize this, but on YouTube, before you can actually get, you can type in Dixon News Network and go to that, you have to have 100 subscribers.
Okay.
Before that, it's a, whatever you have to type in.
The whole link, the website link.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So as soon as you get 100 subscribers, then it can be its own thing where you can just type in YouTube Dixon News Network and go right to it or whatever. Okay. So we're working on that right now.
Subscribers means so much.
It does.
People don't get it. It means it just allows you, and I just keep saying it just helps everything out.
It does.
I don't want to go into the details as to why, but
that's why I encourage people to subscribe to my YouTube channel all the time, because it really helps us, being able to provide a lot more things for them, through that subscription or whatever. So I think at last count I'm getting close to 500 subscribers.
Good
now.
for you.
I know. So I'm really excited about that.
Good for you. Cool. Well, do you have anything else? Anything else on your mind?
Well, no, I guess that's about it. I really appreciate you.
We're about out an hour.
Yeah, I appreciate you letting me come in here and talk a little bit. And
absolutely, yeah, I think it's always good for podcasters to kind of be on other shows as well.
Absolutely,
because everybody's got their own following. Everybody's kind of got their own thing, but blending those two together and just like you said, having that kind of community network is extremely beneficial to everybody around. So, what I like to do, kind of finish the show, is ask 3 questions. Just 3 real quick rapid fire questions. So, the first one is, what are 3 words that you would use to describe yourself?
Well, I would say, leader, doer, maybe a thinker.
Very well said. Very well said. Those are
now, my family might say different 3 words.
I'm not talking about your family. I'm talking about you. That's what a lot of people say. What do I describe myself as, or is my family?
Yeah, exactly.
You. What's the best piece of advice you've ever gotten?
Well, I think probably, and my dad actually told me this, and it was so true. I never wanted to be that person when I got older to say, I wished I'd have spent more time with my kids. I never wanted to be. So I made sure when my girls were young that, I spent as much time as I could. I didn't do things that I wanted to do to spend time with my kids. Yeah. So I think that was great advice, because now I look back and I think, wow, we had some really good times.
Mm-hmm. Those are special times too.
Very.
Crucial times.
Very. And I encourage, young families, especially men, to make sure that they do that. Spend time with their kids.
Yeah.
The other stuff doesn't really mean anything.
No, it doesn't. As much as it seems like it may in the moment, you look back and, having that regret is not something you want to bear.
No.
Not at all.
Not at all.
Last question. What is, well, I will change this up. Beer, whiskey, wine, or martini?
Probably wine.
Red wine?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite kind?
My wife likes sweet wine.
Okay.
So, but her doctor told her that she needed to have a little bit more, what's the word? Tart, wine for just health wise and stuff. So she's having a time with that.
Cut the sugar out a little bit.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Red wine's a great choice. drink it. It's good for the heart,
right? No doubt.
It's good for the heart.
No doubt.
That's it. Cool. Well, Jeff, thanks so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. Appreciate your time. Appreciate your input. Appreciate your, participation in the community as well. So, do you want to plug your socials and your podcast, or how people can get in touch with you?
Yeah, please. We're switching our podcast to Fridays at 12 to 1, and that's on Facebook at The Jeff Eby Show. And then it's also streamed on my YouTube channel at The Jeff Eby Show. So please check those out. You can also look at some past sessions that we had. We've had various people on there that I think you would get a lot of information from. So we encourage you to do that and just watch and call in. We're really trying to get some people to call in and ask some questions during that time. So hopefully, yeah.
And I think if you like the Facebook page, for some reason it doesn't. It used to, right when it started, I'd have a notification pop up on my phone saying, the Jeff Eby Show is about to start. But for some reason it hadn't in the past couple of weeks. So I may look. It's definitely me. I'm so not tech savvy, but yes, if you like the Facebook page or the YouTube and subscribe, then it'll pop up right when they're about to go live.
Correct.
And that helps out significantly because everybody they get caught up in the day, and it's it's you check down and you're halfway through the show, but if you get that little alert, then it helps. Yeah. Especially with a live show. I mean, most definitely with somebody that's needing somebody to call in. I would encourage. I've called in a few times, asked Mr. Curcio some questions, and it was seamless. The audio sounded great. The conversation was easily to understand, and
there's a lot of technology involved in that.
A whole lot. I keep telling Matt I'm going to show up one day and just kind of watch it in action,
right?
Which I'm definitely going to do just to see how it works. I mean, it's like we said at the beginning. There's a lot more that goes into this, and it doesn't pay much right off the bat, if anything at all, and it's a passion project that people like us just hope benefits the community in some way. If we can change one life or help one person, that's all that matters.
Yeah, and thank you for doing this. Thank you for having your podcast, because I think it's important. Ours are a little bit different. Our focus is a little bit different, and I think that's good.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate you doing this. I really do.
Yeah, like I said, shine different lights on different things, and everybody's in the know. So cool. Well, thank you guys for listening. I truly, truly appreciate you continuing the support, and like Jeff said, subscribe, Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts, anything. Just like and subscribe, please, so you get those notifications, and it helps me with my numbers and sponsorships as well, too. So thanks again for listening, and until next time, enjoy the rest of your day. Peace.
Thanks again to Dixon Dog Mom for sponsoring this episode. Be sure to reach out to Kelly to schedule your initial meet and greet today. And remember, you can receive 20% off your first service when you mention Your Vibes Podcast. If you're interested in sponsoring an episode, please reach out to me directly via email at yourvibespodcast@gmail.com. Thanks again for listening, and always remember, stay vibey, my friends.